Hi guys, welcome to Counterfire. My name is Connor, and today we're going to be doing another rant off the cuff. Relatively speaking, I will of course have sticky notes, but I want to, relatively speaking, be doing rants for you guys regularly. So today we're going to talk about how I got blocked by Sargon of Akkad, how I could have taken the higher road, how I could have been more tactful, how I could even try to simp my way back into his good graces through the some of the social networks that I have, but I'm not going to. Because I'm tired. I'm tired in general, but I'm also tired of some of the patterns that I've seen in behavior and content, not just from Sargon, but also from other right-wing creators. And I'm sick of it. I'm fucking sick of it. And so, sorry, but that's the way that it's going to be. So I'm going to explain my beefs. Let's go. So, I want to compliment Sargon first before we even get into the segment. That way, if some of his boys end up watching this, then they can at least say that I did extend him some level of charity in the front end, even if I was more critical on the back end. I do want to congratulate him on several things. One of them is getting in shape. I think a lot of creators can stay out of shape after they make it, after they become a 100,000-aire or a millionaire off of creating content, and as a result, I think it's great that he lost weight, got in shape, looks good. Congratulations to him on that. I also believe he started a family, and that is, of course, another huge achievement for anybody in our era, so congratulations on starting a family. The final point that I think I will be conciliatory on is running a business. I know that running a business, I've been doing side hustles for several years now. I think we're on our 4th year of side hustling and some revenues coming in and all that kind of stuff. I know how hard it is to build something, how to get multiple people to see the same vision that you do, how to make everything logistically work together. And as a result, you know, I respect that. So you can hate his politics, you can hate what he does on the internet, you can hate his rhetoric, you can hate his propaganda, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I think on those few things, you at least have to say, good job. Which brings us to where I will be more critical. Sargon posted this tweet, and I'll just be a little bit less than tactful. I found it retarded. I thought it was a retarded statement, and it was a retarded statement said in public to elicit a reaction, and he got my reaction, so congratulations. He said that, I'm starting to think that the far right, the people who want to preserve tradition and culture, are the good guys, whereas the far left, who want to tear everything down, are the bad guys. And in a vacuum, if you were just to ignore all of the insane shit on the far right wing, then maybe, like, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years ago, I would have been okay with this tweet. But this is in the context of, I don't know, like January 6th riots and people simping for the January 6th riots. And before you're like, oh, that's soy, Connor. Why do you care about people peacefully protesting in the nation's capital? Well, it's because I actually watched the Attorney General's testimony about what Trump was trying to do on that day, and effectively what he was trying to do was exactly what all the liberal wine moms were accusing him of doing. He wanted to create enough doubt about the election that people thought that there was fraud that the Attorneys General had already investigated as not being credible, and then he wanted to create enough doubt that if Mike Pence, the vice president, said that this election is null and void, and if he was able to appoint electors to different states, and if he was able to get the mob riled up in order to slow down or stop the election, then he might be able to maintain power. Now, why he wants to maintain power like some kind of weird, lamer version of Napoleon or Julius Caesar, I don't really give a shit. But either way, even if he had a flailing, stupid, gay boomer attempt to try to destroy the Republic, he tried to do it. And as a result, as a Republican, a person who cares about the Republic, I find that cringing gay. And so that is, GHEY, so I can be respectful to my homosexual brothers and sisters. But that's gay and retarded and shouldn't be a part of our history and shouldn't be simped for. That's Trump. And he's not even like the far, far right. Whereas some of the people that I think I'm better friends than Sargon with some of these people, or at least better acquaintances with some of these people, Keith Woods. He's a phenomenally intelligent nationalist philosopher. I used to watch some of his old work. I talked to him once. I think he's a brilliant person. He's also literally just an authoritarian ethno-nationalist who simps for fucking Nazis and Nazi history. And it's like, even if you wanted to say like, no, he doesn't specifically simp for Nazis. Oh, okay. So he simps for Xi Jinping and the CCP and wonders if, never mind. I could go into this whole thing, but I've seen enough streams of Keith Woods to know that at least 4 or 5 years ago, he was as close to a national socialist in a philosophical sense as you could possibly get. Same thing with Cultured Thug. I like Cultured Thug. I think he's a good dude. I think he's like really intelligent and he understands his worldview and he's able to articulate it well and he's courteous in a debate and all that kind of stuff. He's also literally just a fascist. Like he actually just believes in the doctrines of fascism, not espoused by Benito Mussolini because that book was horrible to read, but as espoused by Giovanni Gentile, flexible authoritarianism and political corporatism. We had an entire conversation about it. It's on the channel. So anyways, those are some of those people that are kind of swimming around with Sargon of Akkad. And then the other person is Nick Fuentes. Now, I think that Sargon and Nick actually had a recent beef about whether or not like civic nationalism or ethno-nationalism was even possible. And, you know, whether or not Gadsad, whatever the fuck his name is, whether or not he was a actual pro-Western good man who was capable of being integrated into the right wing as like a philosopher and all that kind of shit. And Carl, to his credit, was being more friendly to Gadsad, who's a Jew. Whereas Nick was like, no, he's Jewish. He can't possibly be on our side. And so I'm thankful that Carl took the better side of that argument. But at the same time, he's also calling people like Nick and Keith and Cultured and Trump good. And he's wrong. He's absolutely fucking wrong. You don't destroy the republic in order to preserve it. Now, I understand this motherfucker might not care about a republic anymore, but that's not my fucking problem. You're just wrong. So anyways, all of that ranting aside, I quote tweeted him and I said something to the effect of, I think it's lucrative to pander to black-pilled men about fantasies of unapologetic conflict instead of improving their communities incrementally. He took issue with this tweet. I've been a reply guy to Sargon and, you know, haphazardly over the past year, but, you know, I'm what, like 2,500 on the political YouTube and 55,000 on the Warhammer 40K YouTube. Obviously, if I'm more popular on 40K, then I don't expect people to necessarily take me seriously from like a cloud perspective in the political things. But I've also held my own with some of the bigger players. Like, you know, Lauren and I have worked together for a while. Destiny and I have had a couple of contentious debates, some of which I did well, some of which I didn't do well. Vosh and I have had contentious debates. Plenty of other mid-sized creators in the debate space I've had contentious debates with. So I would like to think that I'm like a reasonable opponent in this sphere, even if my clout and metrics don't show that, right? And that's going to be an interesting comment later on. And Sargon replies, because I'm effectively accusing him of taking money by blackpilling young men on the state of society. He says that he's not capitalizing on the black pill. I don't watch his content, or else I would know how much he actually hates the black pill and how incremental and white-pilled and reasonable he is. So that is contradictory to my exterior perception of him. Now, maybe that's my fault, right? Maybe I need to go check out his content. So, you know, most recently, one of the clips that I saw him on, which I don't think is particularly white pill, is that the Democrats are not a rival political party in the United States. They're an armed enemy faction. That doesn't really sound very white-pilling to me. And that we're not actually countrymen in a shared project, and that all of the things that Joe Biden is guilty of, the money laundering that I am relatively passionate about, if Trump had done something similar, then he would be in jail already. So since the media establishment is already simping for Joe Biden, then when are we going to realize that we're just enemies and they're gaslighting us? It's interesting because I do think that there's a healthy chunk of establishment bias where the establishment covers up for people like Hunter Biden and Joe. But how am I not supposed to take the phrase that they are not your countrymen, they're an armed enemy faction, as nothing but an implied call to violence? And what I mean by that is that if you still believe in the Republic, if you still believe in the United States of America, if you still believe in the rule of law and all that kind of stuff, then what you would do is you would try to push through the courts. You would put public pressure on judges. You would criticize when the media covers up for, you know, politicians. You would criticize when politicians seem to cover for each other. You would criticize when there seems to be grift and cronyism and nepotism and all that kind of stuff. And you would hope for a positive result. Like, I don't know, for instance, maybe the deal being rejected by a judge, which happened, by the way. For Hunter Biden to plea out to misdemeanor tax charges. That deal was rejected by the overseeing judge. The previous prosecutor, who had been going really soft on Hunter Biden, getting so publicly criticized that he then asked for a special prosecutor, and now he's putting cases in front of grand juries in Los Angeles based off of public pressure and criticism. because people believe in the system and want to save the system. They don't want to destroy it. And so that's where, for me, as somebody who wants to take white pills and work incrementally and save the republic and all that kind of stuff, I think that public criticism is a lot better than thinking that the Democrats are an armed enemy faction. Because if they're an armed enemy faction, and I'm a part of an armed enemy faction, then all we're really doing is we're counting down the days until somebody does something so horrible that we should just take to the streets and butcher each other. And as somebody who has seen things like that in the past, this is my same beef with Endernax, this is my same beef with Nick Fuentes, this is my same beef with Sargon, is since I've seen real world violence, I think that, to be frank, you're a bunch of internet LARPing fucking pussies who wouldn't know violence if it hit you in the fucking face. And just because you stole an Antifa flag fucking 5 years ago, based, by the way, very strong moment in the internet sphere. Thank you for beating up Antifa and stealing their flag. Doesn't mean you know shit fuck all about squad tactics and guerrilla warfare and improvised explosive devices and terrorism and asymmetric warfare and people getting their heads blown out. So don't LARP to try to manifest that into reality when you, the middle class, upper middle class political pundit who's trying to gear normie wage cuck fucking slaves into the conflict, when you are not the one who will be paying the price. Don't do that in front of my fucking face and say that that's white pill. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. And that's just one. And again, I think that the left needs to give me some latitude. I understand that you don't like using homophobic slurs, and I myself am not scared irrationally of gay people. I don't want them to touch my peen, you know, I don't want them to, you know, try to make out with me. You know, I'm more into chicks, thank you. I'm married, thank you, hard pass. But I think that gay, used in its more powerful connotation of lame and stupid, and the F slur, which I won't be using today, are still powerful on the right because they don't want to be viewed as like effeminate and retarded. And so I want to call that kind of speech as gay and LARPy and hollow. That's my perspective on it. Moving on. Just pointing out some irony here. Trump is getting called out. I think that the New York State charges are weaker because, as the Trump team has pointed out, he actually did fulfill the contracts that he signed, even if he signed them under false pretenses. New York doesn't really care because he still signed them under false pretenses. So if New York wants to go after him, hey, sorry, skill issue. You live in a shitty Democratic state. You should have known that for the past fucking 40 years of being a fucking Democrat. And, you know, sorry, but skill issue there. And then when it comes to Georgia, this man actually did try to defraud and fuck up the election. So I don't give two flying fucks if they throw the book at him. I like a republic. I'm a Republican. I care about the rule of law. I care about the balance of power. I care about representative democracy. So if you try to violate that for your own ego, then fuck you. And I hope they smash you with a book. Anyways. So what I think Sargon would say, the conversation that I would have been interested in having, by the way, which I still would be interested in having, but I don't really give a shit about having now, is a lot of conservatives have realized that conservatism is effectively progressivism doing the speed limit, or it's liberalism doing the speed limit. Yeah, that's correct. That's what Edmund Burke said, the father of conservatism. He saw, as far as I understand, happy to be corrected, happy to have Sargon with his big old fucking British fucking balls and brain educate me on why Edmund Burke is cringing gay. Very happy to listen to it. But I think Edmund Burke is based. And what I believe, based off of my limited reading of Edmund Burke, is that he thought that the traditions and societies of the French Revolution, leading up to the French Revolution, were stagnant and decaying and rotting, and that the traditionalists in their society were simping for dead institutions. And because they maintained enough power and wealth and money, that they effectively defended dead institutions until they collapsed from the inside, allowed a whole bunch of left-wing dickbags in order to seize power in the fucking country, and then that led to mass slaughter and civil unrest. And so as a result, he said, there has to be a way for us to hold on to the things that make our society function, like, you know, family, or mixed economy capitalism, or the liberal republic, or the Bill of Rights. And this is an American context, of course. Like, obviously, those weren't like British things at that time. I'm just saying, like, in the American context. Okay, so forgive me if Edmund Burke wasn't talking about the American Bill of Rights. But the point being, you conserve the things that make your society function, and you let go and allow to evolve the things that actually need to change in your society. So conservatism, being liberalism or progressivism, doing the speed limit is not a bad thing. As a matter of fact, that's the underpinning of the society. And instead of being like, yes, I'm a classical liberal. Yes, I'm a centrist. Yes, I'm reasonable. Yes, I try to think about how we can progress as a society, instead of thinking that everybody is an enemy faction, how we actually are all a politically corporative and the fascist. This is going to lose some people. But basically, we think of the nation state as an entire body with a whole bunch of different functioning members. And as a result, we try to advocate for everybody's best interest. Something gay, like a liberal would say, right? But it's not actually gay. It's based. And instead, what I've heard him say on several podcasts and shows is that he's not like that anymore. He's a traditionalist. He wants religion or the monarchy or some other social institution to hold a higher power over society. That way it can be the uniting thread that brings us all together. But just like Burke pointed out, if you pick a dead institution as the cornerstone of your society, when, I don't know, half to 80% of the population don't believe in the cornerstone of your society, you're going to decay and corrupt and fall apart. Now, this isn't to say that leftists aren't manipulative, evil fucks who are trying to destroy the Republic so they can usher in some fucking gay Star Trek luxury space utopia. And they're going to cause mass deaths and mayhem and racist ethnic conflict, or both, or religious conflict. That's not to say that they're not doing what they're doing that's bad. I'm just trying to point out what Sargon's doing that is dumb and not going to work, and therefore a waste of time and energy. So, since I feel like I articulated our philosophical differences and how we arrived here from a dramatic perspective, I would like to point out why I don't buy for a fucking second that he was selling a white pill. And not only that, that he's deluding himself if he thinks he is. So I go to the main Sargon of Akkad channel, which I originally stopped watching because I realized that he was debunking Medium articles from progressive retards that had a total of 100 views, that had some of the worst grammar and the worst ideas that I've ever heard of in the entire world. And once I listened to him debunking Medium articles for 3 hours, Medium is a self-published website for a while, if you don't know. After listening to him for 3 hours, I was like, oh, this guy is going to the bottom of the barrel in order to pick the dumbest person possible in order to make them look stupid. What a waste of fucking time. And then I stopped watching his content. That was probably like 5 or 6 years ago. So I go back to the main channel. Main channel, majority of his shit is deleted. And the only thing that's left that's been posted recently is a message saying that we can catch him on Rumble. His primary project is the lotuseaters.com, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's go check out the Lotus Eaters. He's not in all the videos, but I would assume that considering it's his business, that he would sign off on a majority of the content there. So let's just break down some of the white-pilling, incremental, hopium-filled, future-oriented, solution-oriented content that Sargon of Akkad is currently posting. Now, by the way, before we even get into the titles and concepts, which I promise I'll wrap up this video relatively soon, but I understand that the algorithm feeds off of anger. That's not my problem. My problem is, take the anger and turn it into something realistic rather than fucking jerk it off about some fucking holy third traditionalist fucking foundation that 80% of the country doesn't believe in, and or simping for the monarchy, and or simping for dead religions, and or I'm trying to think of what else, but pointing out that our ethnic and religious differences are somehow they're completely unbridgeable, therefore we shouldn't even try. Because that's some of my takeaways from some of the content that I consumed on the lotuseaters.com. So, let's admit the first one is a fucking banger, okay? It was a segment about how black people don't pay attention to the smoke alarms in their houses that don't have batteries. Honestly, it was hilarious. It was funny as fuck. Because they got it, God bless them. I don't think Sargon was there, but it was Callum, or the guy who went to Afghanistan with Lord Miles. He's based, even though we disagree on a healthy chunk of stuff, just going to Afghanistan with Lord Miles was hysterical. And I watched that video in its entirety, and it was hilarious. And I love Lord Miles because he's the only British person who still has balls, besides that guy who punched a terrorist in the face while screaming a soccer team's name. Him and Lord Miles are the only British people left with large testicles. So anyways, that was funny. And to their credit, they found a bunch of clips that had rich people and poor black people, so like literally multimillionaires, who also had the smoke alarms chirping in their house. So it's not like a huge indictment of black culture or black people or whatever. It's just fucking funny, right? It's just funny that like maybe you get raised in the hood and you can't afford the fucking batteries, so your smoke alarm goes off, and then you're kind of lazy about it, so you're like, I'll leave it alone, and then 6 months goes by and it's still fucking chirping, and people are like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Go change your fucking batteries. Now, what I would like, I don't even want to criticize the boys here. I think they're right. I think they're right to point this out. I think it's fucking hysterical and fucked up and stupid that some black people, some white trash people can't change the fucking batteries in your smoke alarms. Either pull out the batteries so the smoke alarm doesn't have any batteries, so you die in a house fire, because the chances of that happening are very small, or go buy new batteries. Please. This is nothing wrong with the Lotus Eaters. This is on people who don't change their fucking batteries. But still, not a white pill, right? Progressives are worshiping Bin Laden. This is a good call out, not a white pill. Denzel Washington is going to play Hannibal. I think that you can point out that North Africans and West Africans do look different, but Denzel Washington is such a phenomenal actor, I kind of don't give a shit. And also, there is some trans-Saharan traffic where maybe some North Africans and some West Africans might look a little bit more similar than, I don't know, a Northern European would with a North African, right? And Mediterranean people all kind of look similar anyway. So like, is it cringe and stupid that Denzel Washington is going to play Hannibal? A little bit, but he's also a phenomenal actor, so I don't know if I give a shit. Ugh. Governments are helping migrants come, and they're not compatible with our society. That was another episode. Not a white pill. So far we have 0 white pills. Words of Timeless Wisdom. Now, I haven't watched this one yet, and it has half the views of all the other ones, which plays into the algorithm. That's not your fault. You can't be doing white pill content all the fucking time. That's absolutely fucking true. But it did have like 30,000 views, which I think is respectable. And hopefully it was white pill. Now, hopefully I don't click on that and it's a bunch of ancient philosophers talking about how barbarians can't integrate and we all have to kill each other. Maybe I'll watch it later in order to see if that's it. But if that actually is like being stoic and being mature and handling your own shit and all that kind of stuff, there was so far out of like 5 episodes that we checked out the titles on, and I've watched some of them, there's one white pill. Marvel's biggest flop. Culture war bullshit, not a white pill. We can clean our streets, we just need an authoritarian Chinese visit. That was in reference to San Francisco cleaning its streets for 24 hours. I'm going to point this out to you because you're here. Taking all the homeless people and moving them 2 blocks away so the streets are clean for a foreign dignitary for 24 hours does not solve the homeless problem. Now, maybe we can adopt the very humanitarian Canadian model where we just encourage our homeless people to kill themselves. But I would like to point out to conservatives that San Francisco did not solve the homeless problem. They moved it 2 blocks away for 48 hours. So the fact that they're acting like, oh yeah, we solved it, like, get the fuck out of here. Demographic baby bust. Ooh, another white pill right there. Joking, of course, black pill. Deport all the Browns. That was from Douglas Murray. Thank you, Douglas Murray. Cucked by KFC. Another fucking black pill where in a commercial about fried chicken, a white girl kisses a young black man instead of the nerdy white guy to her right. That is strange and weird and horrible. And progressives are fucking so goddamn weird with this shit. My point is not whether or not I would share similar criticisms. My point is whether or not a majority of Sargon of Akkad's content contains white pills, which so far it obviously doesn't. Robert E. Lee statue being melted. I watched this one, absolutely not a white pill. They were literally simping for Robert E. Lee, which, by the way, Robert E. Lee has redeemable things, but I don't think that you need a statue in order to talk about his redeemable things. South African politician says that he hates foreigners, or she hates foreigners. Okay, not a white pill. Jihadism as a social struggle, mind games. Basically, all the Muslims are playing games. Whenever they talk about jihad as a social justice narrative or whatever, they're actually all terrorists and they're going to kill us all. Why doesn't anything work anymore? Not a white pill. The Dilbert curse. He tried to warn you is the thumbnail. I watched it. Kind of funny. But for those of you who don't remember, the Dilbert guy, the author, Scott Adams or whatever the fuck his name is, he said that white people just need to stop living with black people because black people are mean and cruel and evil. And basically there's no sense in being friends with them because they're just all shitty and they suck. So, you know, there's something to be said for the sociological problems that we face perpetuating, into the future, and how we could actually solve them, and how it seems like there's some people in the progressive and left-wing movement who want to wallow in the filth and shit of the degrading parts of our society and the rotten parts of our society. But that is an infinitely more expansive conversation than, yeah, we should just segregate ourselves. So again, I'm not going to consider that a white pill. So anyways, I think my point stands that Sargon of Akkad is running a business, capitalizing off of the black pills of young men. I think that he was pusillanimous when I called him out and I said I would be happy to talk to him about this and air my grievances, some of which I've aired with you right now. And I would also be happy to talk to him about the nature of conservatism versus traditionalism. And instead, because I'm a clout-hungry goblin, you know, all I care about is clout, you know, he just blocked me instead. Which, to be fair, while I think that's a pusillanimous move, and we have mutual friends, maybe he was having a frustrating day. Maybe some things at work weren't going on. Maybe he's tired of other people talking shit about him, and I'm talking about shit about him too. But this kind of brings us to my final point before I wrap up. I only have time for rants now. That's really all I have time for. I have time to live stream with Brianna. I have time to do rants. I don't even have time for this right now. I have another 2 projects that I should be working on. But the truth is that when you hold fire on people in your camp because you want to play nice and be friends with them and grow alongside them, then that is not what the audience wants. You guys want drama, and you want blood, and you want names of different creators in the title. And I'm going to give you what you want, relatively speaking. Because the truth is that I've, relatively speaking, held fire for the past 2 or 3 years. I have focused a healthy chunk of my negative attention on the left, which is deserved, and I will continue to do that. But I do think that I have held my tongue when it comes to some of the more toxic and nefarious aspects of right-wing alternative media punditry, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of playing nice to go along to get along. I'm sick of waiting my turn when these people are capitalizing on the shitty, falling apart world. I'm sick of them encouraging young men to be discouraged and despair and wallow in the filth and misery of society. I'm sick of them not leveraging their wealth and influence in order to make society better. I'm sick of them not leveraging their intellect in order to come up with solutions in order to improve the world. So I'm done. I'm fucking done with that. So I will still try, I will fail in this regard. I will try to be tactful with people who are fellow travelers. As a matter of fact, I reached out to another creator and they said that Sargon is infinitely less black-pilled than a whole bunch of other creators, and so I should play nice. This is me playing nice, by the way. Twitch and YouTube politics. Here's another thing that drives me crazy about the situation. Twitch and YouTube debate politics. What I said to him was barely a love tap. It was basically an invitation for a conversation. Hey, I think you're capitalizing on the black pills of young men. No, I'm not. Okay, let's talk about it. Blocked. I didn't have that in mind. I don't really give a shit. But at the same time, that's pusillanimous. It's cowardly. And I accused him of being in the Fortress Arc. And he is. So, Vosh went into the Fortress Arc and refuses to debate and engage with creators smaller than him. I view Sargon the same way, by looking at the body of his content. I think he's out there making react streams to black pill bullshit. And I think that's pusillanimous. So that's where we're at for now. I am going to go design 3D printed terrain sets. I am going to go do other things with the family. I'm going to go be a normie for a bit. So I appreciate you. I parasocially love you. Watch all the other content. Catch you in the next one. Bye for now.